sitting here talking about the fact that I'm doing a case study with Stacia, who I'm going to be talking to today. And it's funny, it always happens where I'm invite somebody so that we can share their story. And it's like, this was on my vision board. I knew that I was going to do this one day. And for me, when I first started doing these, creating the concept that I call PAL, which is proof of work, and sharing my wins and clients' wins as a way to show people that there's people like them who are creating results. Because brown girls like us don't often get to see people who make a lot of money. And so even though it's scary for me to share my journey, I share it because I remember what it felt like to look around and not see anyone who looked like me doing what I thought were big things unless they were super famous, like Oprah or somebody like that.
Right.
And so it always warms my heart when people are like, oh my gosh, you said, Mama, I made it. I'm going to do this case study thing. So I want to welcome you guys into the conversation. And just so you know, I have been off for an entire week. So I'm like gung-ho, ready to go. We're a half an hour early on the time that I normally go live. But Stacia was like, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
So we're going to go ahead and do this at this time. I just thought that this would be such a powerful example and story to share with people. So I'm so grateful to you. And in a moment, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. But I just want to share with you guys the reason why I do these is that's the main reason is I didn't have any examples. And I know as time goes on, for a lot of you, I become less and less of an example because it seems like what I'm doing is so far removed or so far away from where you are. Like I'm talking about doing $1 million months and some of you guys are trying to have your first sale or your first 6-figure month. And so I want to bring people that are on all places of the journey and all types of industries that I work with to share with you all kinds of nationalities, all kinds, just the diversity in any way that you can think about it, to show you what's possible for you and how your life can completely transform. And we were just talking about this in a year, right? In a year, your life could look completely different. In a month, your life could look completely different. And a lot of it is about proximity and having the examples of people who are doing it. So you go, oh, like something like we talk about this. I don't know if you guys have heard this story, but Stacia, have you heard the story of Roger Bannister? Right.
No.
He's the guy who ran the first 4-minute mile.
Oh, yeah.
And so before he ever did it, no one was ever thinking about a 4-minute mile. No one was thinking that it was even possible. And since he has done it, so many people have broken the 4-minute marker like it's a thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing. They're like, that's not even humanly, no one was reaching for that.
Not even possible, right.
And so I always feel like you're somebody's Roger Bannister, right? You are a representation of what's possible for someone who isn't even thinking like, oh, I could do that?
Right.
Like that could be me.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do these interviews and these case studies, because I want people to have someone that they can look at and say, I identify with her. And one of the things I love about you is that you have a business, but you're also straddling a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people who are like, well, I'm not in business full time. So can I make this kind of money? Can I do this? And so I thought you would be a powerful example because I've been an entrepreneur the majority of my life. Like since I was in my 20s, I have worked for myself or either for someone in a 1099 capacity, meaning I was self-employed contractor for them. And so this has been my life's journey. So I don't know what it's like to have a full-time job and try to build this outside, even though I've helped many, many people do it.
Yeah.
And so I want to just give you an opportunity to introduce yourself right now. Tell people who you are, how you support people in the world. What's your badass superpower?
Yes, my badass superpower. I am Stacia Crawford, and I am the CEO and the founder of Stay Ready Media. And my full-time job, like you talked about, is I'm a TV news producer. But in my business, I do PR and media training. So what I do is I take my 30 years of television experience and I help people to use that to harness the power of free media opportunities, meaning getting them on television, radio, magazines, and podcasts so that they actually get to be in the spotlight, and then teaching them how to leverage that. So you're not just on TV for the sake of being on TV, but turning that into money, turning that into speaking engagements, other opportunities, sponsorships, brand partnerships, and things like that. So that's my superpower.
I love it. All of that sounds yummy to me. I'm like, yes, I'll have 5 of those and 2 of those. So good. I know you left off one of your jobs. So she got 3 jobs. She's like a Jamaican. She got 3 jobs.
I got 3 jobs, Mom.
You're also a professor, an adjunct professor, right?
Yes. So I teach television reporting and writing at a college in Chicago.
Okay. There's a reason why I wanted to point that out. Because again, this is about giving people an anchor for what's possible for them. And people just think I'm just so busy. My life is just so full. There's no way. Like I can only do this much. And they think it takes a whole lot. And so let's talk about your journey, right? I think that we have been working together. It's been a little over a year because you started in sales school.
Yeah, so I started in sales school. So it's been sales school maybe about 1.5 years, but I've been in the mastermind for about 1 year.
Yeah. So let's talk about this journey. Where were you 1.5 years ago? What were your what were your beliefs? What were you holding on to? What were you wishing to create?
I was a mess. And that's just it. I mean, I had been in other coaching programs and I hadn't ever really gotten the results that I wanted. You know, I would get a little bit of traction. And I was one of those people who always felt like because I had this full-time job and it was such a demanding job that I could never really dive into my business the way I wanted to because my full-time job always took precedence. So whenever there was something that came up, it was always trying to build it around my 9 to 5, which isn't even a 9 to 5 because sometimes I might go in at 9, I might go in at midnight, I might go in at 3 a.m. And so having this crazy schedule and putting that at the forefront was like, well, you know, if I make a little bit of money in my business, I'm okay. I'm not trying to be filthy rich. I'm not trying to, you know, be super wealthy. I just want to be comfortable. And my full-time job provided that. And so anything I made in my business, in my mind, was extra.
So it was just like play money.
It was play money.
And you were making play money.
I was making play money. And not only was I making play money, but the way I was making it, it was hard because I was doing a lot of work. But I think part of it, you know, a lot of it is mindset. And I know, you know, the work that you do, it's about strategy, but the mindset is everything. And so part of my issue was that I felt like, I'm an expert at television. I'm a badass at television. I know television. The PR thing, you know, and the media training was like, I know it, but let me get my feet wet. Let me, you know, charge a little bit of money to see if I can get people results. And then maybe I can charge more. So I had people that I was literally coaching for when I started, it was like $50 a month. I was
and like, you were getting them results, but did you start charging more after that?
After that, I didn't because it still hadn't clicked for me. I wasn't really making the connection between what I did for them and the results that they got. I was like, well, I trained them to do this, and then they would go off and do big things, but I wasn't connecting the dots.
I love that. I want to just stop right here because I think this is an important conversation for a lot of people, right? This understanding, and I'm going to use an example of a recent client for me in one of my programs, the understanding that once you give someone a skill set, some knowledge, some wisdom, some awareness, a lot of people don't connect the dots. They think, oh, they didn't do this while they were working with me, or, oh, I just taught them the thing and then they went out and did it. And that's true. Like the results you created, I can't take credit for that, right? You have to be the courageous one to do it. I know that I've given you some guidance, some wisdom, and a community for you to be able to get what you need in order to be able to take those big, bold, courageous actions. But without you taking the actions, there is no results.
Right.
But we must be able to know that when we are working with people, there is a payoff or a return on investment that happens well after our work is done, and most people don't lend that any credence.
Yep. And I was one of those people.
What I'm clear about is when you come work with me, no matter how long you stay, I am a part of every dollar you make in the future.
That's right.
So whether that's hundreds of dollars, $1, millions of dollars, what you took from our time together is a part of that creation moving forward. It's not just that you work with me for a session or a day or 90 days or a year. It's everything that comes after that. And here's the example that I want to share. And then I want you to think about, like, I want you to share with them what the importance was of making that connection. So I have a client who just went through Play Big. The last round we had, she was in with you. I don't think she made any sales when we were in Play Big. And I just kept trying to encourage her. And so here we are, and we're, I don't know how many weeks out from Play Big, almost a month since.
Yeah, almost 4 weeks. Yeah.
And this very same person just closed a multiple 5-figure sale, cash, paid in full. More than she's ever offered for anything, because of the work she was willing to do in that time and the awarenesses that were coming up.
Yeah.
Empowered her to ask for what she wanted and to show up in a way that she wanted and to sell what she really wanted outside of that container.
Yeah.
And so when you think about you making a decision to actually allow yourself to connect the dots, and there's a difference. It's not taking credit for people's results, because this is where people get like, well, I can't take credit for their results. What did that mean for you? What did that look like, feel like, and what did it make possible for you?
That changed everything for me. And part of that came because when you teach us, to do our power posts and our proof of work. And I was like, I wasn't really posting a whole lot because I was like, well, I got somebody featured on this show or featured on that show. And it was like, that was kind of the extent of it. That was as far as I was reaching. But then when I had, clients who had worked with me who were coming back and saying, yeah, I got this corporate deal worth X number of dollars, and I got a deal with Netflix, and I got this. And I'm just like, wait, I did play a role in that, because had you not worked with me and had you not gotten this visibility, that Netflix executive never would have seen you. So, so then, that's where the whole thing of, connecting the dots came in. And I was just like, oh, I do have stuff that I can post. And the more I was posting, I would see things, then I'd be like, oh, wait, then there's this, and then there's that. And there was all this stuff around me that I had done that I wasn't taking credit for. And I wasn't, I didn't even recognize it. But the more I started paying attention to it, then I was like, oh, yeah, I am a badass. Yes. I did that.
Yes. So let's talk about the results that you've been able to create. I remember you telling a story just recently at Game On Live, because we had you on a panel, and that story was about like what goals you had set for yourself. I don't remember it exactly, but let's talk about what you were wishing you could create and then what you have created along the way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, at the time, when I first came in and I was charging a little bit of money, I was just at a point where I was hoping that I could create, just, get people a little bit of exposure, kind of get them out of their own way. But what I didn't realize was that I was self-sabotaging, because what I really wanted, it was almost like I couldn't voice it, because, growing up, it was like, it wasn't good to say you wanted to have a whole lot of money. It was like, who says that?
Right. I mean, it's still kind of taboo right now. Like, I still have like the pitter patter of my heart when I talk about, the results that I'm creating in my own business. So it's still kind of taboo to talk about money in the way that we do.
But I just had to be honest with myself. And it was like, conversations that you have so many times in the group. It's almost like, to me, it's like church. It's like when you go to church and the preacher is preaching and you're like, he's talking to me. Wait, that message, and they say, well, I don't know who this is for. And I'm like, oh, that was for me. And a lot of times our sessions are like that, because I'm like, oh, she is talking straight to me. I know that message was for me. And so I would take that message, and then actually it would kind of ring in my head, even throughout the course of the week. Be like, Shamika said this. Oh, yeah, here's where that kind of comes into play. But it changed everything for me, because I had to be honest with myself about what I really wanted. It's like, no, you're not normal. You're not average. You've always been exemplary. You've always been excellent. And so actually being in a group of other people who not only recognize their own excellence, but who recognized my excellence. For a long time in the group, I honestly felt like I didn't belong.
Everybody says that, Stacia. Every person in my community says that.
I stepped into this container and people are just, incredible. And I'm like, I don't belong here. I'm like the outsider. Let me just sit in the back and watch, pay attention, learn something. But it's like, no, you can't just sit in the back. You're a part of the community. You have to contribute. And I felt like that was, this community has always been a safe space for me to do that.
So good. So I wanted you to share your results. So you set a goal to do what?
Originally, my original goal was to do $108,345. That was my original goal.
Okay. I just saw that today, by the way, because we have new people that have come into NLA. So I was looking through the posts where they're putting their goals up and I saw yours. And I'm like, I wonder if Stacia hit that. So did you?
I did not quite hit that goal. And let me tell you, and the other thing is, I hit goals along the way that I didn't even realize I had hit them because I was moving so fast, and it's like every now and then I would go back. And usually it takes other people to shine a light on it before I do. When I was talking to one of the other ladies in the group, Kristen, and she was like, do you realize you made $42,000, last month or something? And I was like, nah, I did it. And she's like, yeah, you did. You had this and you had that. And I was like, what? I'm like, there is no way. She's like, yeah, you did. And so
I don't have my pom-pom. Eat it.
Look, I got mine. I have to celebrate too. Yeah. Sometimes it takes somebody else to shine a light on your own accomplishments. And so now I'm doing a better job of paying attention to that stuff.
So good. What results are important to you?
I think one of the big results for me was really two. One was to learn to trust myself because I realized that I was self-sabotaging all along the way. It was like, you say you want this, but you're not doing what it takes to get it. And the other thing for me was just to be brave, to be courageous. And so when I stepped into this container, and one of the things you always talk about is courage. And, and not just in business, but really it spills into so many other areas of my life where I have opportunities to do things. And it's like, fear just kind of keeps me stuck.
Yeah.
And, I really had to shine a light on that and say, results don't take time. Like you say, it takes courage. And so if you really want this, you got to do the scary stuff. You got to. And so those were the two big things for me. It was courage and trust.
Yeah. We were talking about this before we came on to the live stream, and trust is a huge part of this. And I always talk about the 4 levels of trust that I feel like people need. And first and foremost is trust themselves, right? You have to trust your decisions. You have to trust that what you post on social media is going to work. You just have to trust you and what comes through you and what you decide to do instead of defaulting to the guru or the mentor or you really have to learn how to trust yourself and who you are and the power that is you.
And that's the one I was missing.
And then the second one is trusting the process, right? So you signed up for a program. And this is always really funny for me when people sign up for programs and then they argue with their mentors. I'm like, why are you arguing? You asked a question and then you want to fight for it every step of the way. Like, you must trust the process. And sometimes I feel like in this process, when we're looking at like quantum leaping and creating rapid results and expanding our capacity to receive and collapsing time, like all of the things that we do inside of this community, this stuff gets kind of like, right? Because you're doing a lot really fast, even though you can't see it. You're transforming out of DNA on a cellular level. Yeah. Who you're being and the frequency that you're emitting in the world, the resonance of who you are, the words you say and how you show up and who you be is changing exponentially.
Yeah.
And you can feel it, but not, right? You can feel it sometimes and not see it. And it can be a little bit like wonky, and you just have to trust the process, because oftentimes you can't see you're changing because you don't have the evidence with your eyes, and then boom, a $40 month shows up.
Absolutely. And I would have so many people, literally people who I've known for years, who would say to me, you're different. I see this transformation happening. You're not the same person. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I am the same person. And they're like, no, there's something different about you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then, because I don't know, maybe it was starting on the inside and it was coming out. Maybe I was just too close to it. But I was like, nah, that's crap. I am the same person. Like, no, you're not the same person,
Yeah. So we've got, I was actually thinking it's funny too, because that always happens to people too. Like we can see your change. So I watch my clients all the time just transform, and you're not transforming into another person.
Right.
So I really want to talk about that because I didn't do anything to make you this new badass woman. That's who you are.
Right.
But life happened.
Yeah.
And all we did was awaken what was already inside of you. And that's what happens. People step into these containers with me and they have full permission to be 100% of who they are, no matter how big it is, no matter how crazy it is, which most people don't get. They never see, they never get the opportunity to just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to
just be 100% you.
Yeah. So trusting yourself and trusting the process. Right.
Yeah, that took me some time
to trust the process.
Yeah, it took me some time. But again, it was that proximity because I'm seeing all of these other people. And I'm like, well, it's working for her and it's working for her and it's working for her. It's going to work for me at some point. It's going to work. It's going to work. And that became my mantra. It's always working. It's always working.
Well, that's a community mantra, right? Mm-hmm. We all have to, like, whatever I'm doing, it's working. Even if I can't do it, it's always working. Some people look at other people's success as evidence that it's not going to work for them.
Right.
And the beautiful thing is when you can look at other people's success, that's why we celebrate so hard. I wish I did have my pom-poms because I'm like, I got next.
Yes.
I was coming back. I'm celebrating you all the way. So yeah, if that's not something that you hold on to, it's always working. I always tell clients, whatever you choose to do, it's going to work.
Yeah.
You just must decide. Someone was asking, what are the other two? So I'm going to go ahead and give them the other levels of trust. The third level of trust is to, trust yourself, trust the process, trust God.
Absolutely.
Listen, I'm a church girl, so I'm going to just say it this way. I have never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread. God has never left me nor forsaken me. It doesn't matter what I've been through in my life. I have never been without. There's always been a ram in the bush. This is why we do church.
Amen.
There has always been a way of escape. Even though the way to get there might have been long and a long journey, like the kind of glimpses or God winks that I've gotten in my life have allowed me to understand, like, everything is created for us to be supported. And so I trust that God supports me. I trust that the world is set up and aiding me. It's conspiring for my good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Period. And so I just trust that. I trust that I'm not here to fail, to be in lack in any of those things. And then I let go of the timing. Period.
Right.
End of discussion.
Yep. Let it go.
And then the last one that I always ask of clients, and I'll shift this for some of you because I'm not your mentor, right? Is trust me. So if you're going to invest with people, trust your mentor, or else don't invest with them. You can't invest with people and then question everything they ask you to do.
Right.
But with those 4 levels of trust, we're able to create results that are like mind blowing. And they're not just mind blowing to other people. They're mind blowing to us.
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around some of it. I'm like, what?
Yeah, like it's almost unfathomable goals. Like goals you're like, oh, I bet you said I would love to have a $20,000 a month or $40,000. That would be nice.
I did. Well, you know, I was saying I wanted to have a $10,000 a month.
Right.
And I blew it out of the water, passed the milestone and didn't even know it.
Right. And just moving along like next.
Way back there. I didn't even know it.
Exactly. Exactly. Which is why we like to celebrate all wins, right? Every step of the way. Let me ask you this, because, you know, we're talking about big money. You had a $40-something thousand a month. And there's 2 things that they're always like, well, that's you because you have this or that. Or you've been at it for a long time, or you're in business, or you teach people how to make money. There's all kinds of people are always looking for ways why it's not possible for them.
Right.
So this case study is for people who identify with you, people who have tree jobs, right? People who have a massive amount of brilliance and skill set that they have been monetizing on someone else's behalf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who either have the desire to do and start their own thing with that brilliance, that skill set, because it's not just the skill set of you being a media consultant or coach. Like that's a skill set that you learn. There is a gift that you have to help people create their pitches and all of those things. That's your gifting. Who you are to people is the gift. And that's the brilliance. And so there's somebody listening who has their own brilliance, their own skill sets, their own brilliance, who's either already straddling their 9-to-5 and trying to build a business, but it hasn't quite been working, or they have a desire to do that. And when you think about that person, I'm pretty sure that's a mosquito flying around. When you think about that person, what's like 2 to 3 things, like words of encouragement or advice? What would you say to them?
I would say, first of all, get in a community, because I know that I couldn't have done this by myself. I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur. I've had several jobs, businesses. I've had children's clothing lines. I've had a cultural center. I had a retail store. But even in those, it would only go so far. And then I would feel like, okay, it would peter out. But when you're in a community of, not only having that belief in yourself, but other people who believe in you, definitely get in a community of people who can support you, people who can, who have been there. That's one of the things I love about your story. So many times you say things and I'd be like, she's like in my head, or this is my story. She doesn't even know, that I've been through that exact same thing. And that community has just been so helpful. I know I couldn't have done it by myself. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, it goes back into trust, trusting yourself. I didn't trust myself. I knew that I had this TV thing that I had going, but I didn't trust that I could take that and actually build a life with it for myself. And the other thing is, which is my other big thing, be courageous. When I made that investment, that was a scary investment. And, but again, that trust came back where, I'm seeing that she's done this with other people. You got to learn to get past all the head trash, because there's going to be a lot of head chatter. Mm-hmm. And it still comes up. That's not something that you conquer once and it's like, oh, been there, done that. Mm-hmm. When I first joined this community, and I think that was one of the questions on the questionnaire where you were talking about money blocks. And I remember, I filled it out and I was like, oh yeah, what is your relationship with money? And I was like, yeah, I've done this work before. And when you came back, you were like, it's so funny when people come and they say that they've done this work before. And it was, and you just opened up a whole Pandora's box, because I was doing a lot of things out of lack, which I didn't call it that, come on, charging $50 a month. Mm-hmm. For the type of work that I do.
For the exposure that you were getting people.
Yeah. Exactly. I didn't identify that as operating out of lack, but that's what it was. Mm-hmm. So now, to go from charging $50 a month to $5,000 a month, it's the same work. Mm-hmm. I'm doing the same work. Mm-hmm. And it's easier now.
And you have more clients.
And I have more clients.
That's the crazy thing.
Right. I have more clients. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was just like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
But, and people will tell, I've literally had people tell me, I heard you say one time, you are the answer to someone's prayer. And I did not look at my work in that way. Mm-hmm. I looked at it as, okay, I get people on TV, but that's not the answer to someone's prayer. And I have literally, it's mind blowing. I've literally had people tell me, you're the answer to my prayer. I had someone a few weeks ago. She was like, I know God sent you to me. There is no doubt in my mind God sent you to me. I had someone this week who said, you've been on my vision board.
Yes.
I have literally had you on my vision board that I was going to work with you a year ago. And I'm like, I'm on somebody's vision board.
Now, here's the thing, though. A year ago, you thought you were invisible.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Absolutely. And in fact, not only did I think I was invisible, I was trying to be invisible because I was sabotaging myself.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I did, I would say I wanted one thing, but then I would do the opposite. So it was like, yeah, I wanted to be invisible.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't want to be in the spotlight. I don't want people to have eyes on me. I kind of want to, I would take the little strategy and operate it, in silence and in secret and kind of put it out there like, okay, let's see if this works.
Yes. But you gave us two things. Did you have something else? You gave us community and you gave us trust.
Community and trust. And then, just be brave. Go out there and do it. Be brave and be willing to give 100%.
Yeah.
I was using my job again as an excuse because I was like, well, I can't give 100% because I have this demanding job. So I'll give about 30% and see what, that might get me something. But it's like, no, you have to be willing to do whatever it takes. If you really want what you say you want, then you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get it.
Can you share what courage looks like for you? Because I think people get these platitudes and colloquialisms all the time, and it's like hard to put it in concrete. And I think a lot of it's relative, like charging more is relative to certain people. I think courage is relative. We all have our thing that is the courageous or the courage path that we should follow. What does courage look like for you?
Oh my gosh. For me, courage takes on a different meaning for me, one in my personal life and then the other in my business. Mm-hmm. And in my business, it really looked like, first of all, saying no, because I would, sometimes I would have people who would want to barter. They'd be like, well, I can't afford that much, but here's what I could do. And there was a time when I'd be like, okay, we'll do that. Mm-hmm. Sure. Mm-hmm. Or, getting on a sales call with people who've already indicated that they have no intention of buying this service. They just want to get some free tips, mm-hmm. right?
Yes.
And I would do it because I was like, well, it might turn into something, or, I was just too frightened to say no. Mm-hmm. And so courage for me was being that boundary, like you always talk about not having a boundary, but mm-hmm. being a boundary. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's been a very courageous thing because, I don't know if it's my horoscope or what it is, but, I have this desire to be liked. And I'm like, well, if I don't do what they want to do or, accept the arrangement that they're making, they're not going to like me, and courage says to me, so what? Who cares? Yeah. I don't need them to like me. I know what I'm doing. Either you want to work with me, either you value, my work and the results that I can get for you, or you don't. Mm-hmm. And so that was really courageous for me now to tell people, no, I'm not going to get on the phone with you and, have 45 to 60 minutes of my time only for you to tell me you're not going to invest.
Right. I love that. So that's a hard one for a lot of people because it's like, well, if I throw this, it's two things. It's like, if I don't take this money, then I'm not going to get any more, or I've got to do this because then I leave the person to do nothing. I'm like, there's plenty of resources. There's Google University. There's all kinds of places where people can find information for free. They just must work for it, right? We pay for the ease and the simplicity of having all of that information and support kind of curated for us and put in a nice, tidy little bow so you don't have to go scour the internet.
Exactly.
You can find it if you wanted it.
Yeah, you can find it. Yeah. Of course, but, and that was the other thing for me, because I would feel even in this community, I felt like there were other people who did stuff. There were more than one book coach. There was, several people. And I'm like, there's nobody in here that does what I do. And I'm telling myself, well, there's probably a reason for that. Maybe this won't work for me. Mm. I'm like, okay, why is there nobody else in this industry doing this? I'm like, okay. But I finally had to realize too, that of course there are people out there who do what I do, but I also had to recognize that I bring not only my unique set of skills, but I bring my life set to the table. Nobody does it in the way that I do it. Mm-hmm. And I had to recognize that.
So good. So, so good. So I want to share something with you guys, and I probably should have shared it a little bit earlier. I am going to be doing my Holiday Slay series. If you haven't been around me for a long time, you're in for a treat because every year I do a series during the month of December, and I wear all my Christmas outfits because I'm a Christmas girl. So get ready. This girl's about to go ham on y'all with the Christmas glasses and everything. But I will be going live 2 to 3 times a week, sharing some tips about getting to 100K months. And what I want to let you guys know to keep your eyes out for is we are going to make money in December. And I'm not talking about a little bit of money. I'm talking about a lot of bit of money. Every year for the past 4 years, or maybe this is going on 5 years. I think this is the 4th time we've done it in December. I used to be the kind of person who believed like people don't buy right now, wait to it's the holidays, all of that stuff. So I was broke the 3rd quarter of the 4th quarter of every year. Just waiting and planning and waiting and planning. And then all the other holidays come and it's like, oh, well, I can't do anything because there's always something. And so one year I just said, you know what, I'm going to stop believing what I hear everyone talking about. And decided to just focus on making money during the month of November, December. And it ended up being my biggest quarter ever. December ended up being my biggest month ever. And now that tradition has just continued. Like last year we did just over $1 million in revenue in the last quarter. This year, in the final quarter of the year, we're looking at like close to like I think about 1.3 million right now, which is so crazy to me when I used to be sitting around like kind of broke. And so I want to show you guys that with some focus, intentional action, you can create cash in any season. And so we're going to be doing the crash course for free. I know a lot of people are charging for master classes and things like that. I'm not yet ready to charge for this. This is my gift to you. And so I'm not going to give you the link to where to go find it now, but what you can do is you can comment on this post. What do I want to do? Comment crash course if you want the information. I'll make sure we'll come back around and get it to you so that you can be invited to play with us. We're going to take a full week, 4 full days of like training and challenges that are going to get you out there to make money. And clients have closed $30,000 deals. People make money during this challenge. This is not during this crash course. It's an actual course that I teach. And it's just to prove a point because I want to break the back of the beliefs that people hold on to that say, I have to wait. I can't sell at this time or that time. There's always a buyer available. The question is, do you have the courage to show up and sell? And so that is what we're going to be doing. So type crash course and I will make sure that you get your invitation to the crash course. Now this isn't like a free for all. Everybody jumps in. I hold you to a high standard because I am gifting it for free. So I want to be clear. You understand that I am gifting it for free. So when you come in, there's things that you're going to need to do. And if you don't do them, I will remove you from the group. This isn't a place where you can come back and lurk and just look. Right. Because if I'm going to gift my time, I gift it to the willing. I gift it to people who show up full force. So if you're unable to do that, and you'll see what some of the requests are as soon as you get in. You have to answer in the very, very beginning. I'm willing to do this, and that. If not, bless you. Like, have a great time. And I'm just going to roll with the people who are ready. That's just how it works. So crash course, and I'll make sure that we circle back around and also be looking out. When I start the Holiday Slay series, I will do a full invitation to where you can go sign up. Stacia, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm going to be doing the crash course.
It's kind of funny. Like my clients do it over and over and over again because it's focused, intentional action on making money. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that it's free, if you guys don't take advantage of it, you don't know what you're missing. Shamika does not come to play. So
no games detected here. We don't play games. A lot of people do things like just for marketing purposes. I'm like, no, like I get to work with me. It starts at a $5,000 investment. And so the things that I do, like these live streams that I do, where I do a lot of teaching, letting clients share some insights that they are having that we could keep to ourselves inside of our community. We could just be sharing this with each other and growing and growing and growing and not giving you a taste of it. Doing the crash courses that I do, doing my Game On Live event, that's my give back. That's my way of getting what I have into the hands of the people who aren't ready yet. And so everything that I do on a high level. Everything that I do on a level where you can actually create a result. It's not just a marketing ploy. So if you want to play with us the last week of December, go ahead and type crash course. And I will make sure that you get the information that you need. Stacia, any last words that you want to share that you have?
Y'all need to get in this community. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. It changed my life. I mean, had you told me that I would be where I am right now, I don't think I would have believed it. And I know it's only getting better from here because now I have tools that I didn't have a year ago and I know how to use them. So
good.
It's been awesome.
Thank you for sharing. I'm teaching people how to fish.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Not hooking people to me, but teaching them how to fish.
Yeah.
It's always beautiful for me. Like, I'm like, any last words? And you guys just like start pitching. I'm like, I didn't tell you to pitch me. I always tell you guys, I'm like, I don't need you to sell me. I can sell myself.
And that is true. And that really wasn't the purpose. But it's like, like when you watch a really good movie and then you're like, oh, you got to see this. This movie was so good. You have got to see this. Yes. And, being in this community is kind of like that. It's like, I feel like I've discovered something. I mean, obviously I didn't discover you, but it's like, I'm like, oh, y'all, you just don't know. You got to get it because it will just blow your mind. It's, I used to always have this saying, and I'm sure you've heard it, where we would tell children, you can't be what you don't see. Mm-hmm. And, it doesn't just hold for kids, because for me, I mean, the types of things that we were accomplishing in this community, this is just stuff that you just don't see. And if somebody had told me, I would have been like, yeah, right. But somebody made $100,000 in a day. Sure, they did. Somebody made $1 million at an event. Yeah, right. It's like, oh, that's what they're telling you. You believe them? Okay. But it's like, I just feel blessed and honored to just be a part of it. And, I just feel like we're only going up from here.
I love it. I do want to say thank you. And somebody commented on my post when I was doing my first public share that we did $1 million at the event. It was Nikki. And she said, you did that, coach. And immediately I thought, and this wasn't like a quirky, put it back on you, because, I don't do stuff like that. I was like, no, we did that. Because the power of this community is it's like each one teach one. We're all, when I go, you go. And if not for you guys sharing as much as you do, I'd probably still be a secret to most people who have found me. And so I appreciate three things. One, I appreciate you letting me guide you. Two, I appreciate you showing up here and sharing your journey, because you don't have to do that. We could just pretend like the money fell out of the sky and that there was no issues along the way. I'm so magnificent. I just had a $40,000 month out of nowhere, and it happened like that. We could just do that and play that game. And so you opening up your own mindset issues and the things that you have to come through to, share and support with somebody else. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you being willing to share me with the world.
Oh, well, you're welcome. I know. I don't want to share you. I want to keep you to myself.
Oh my gosh, so awesome. All right, guys, we're going to take off. Stacia, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And I just really feel like this conversation is going to bless a lot of people. You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
I've had people who reach out to me, who've said, yeah, I've been watching you. I saw this post and I saw that post. And usually it's one of the scary ones that I was like, I don't even know if I should post this. I don't know if I should say this.
Absolutely. Always those.
Yeah. And people will say, well, thank you. You really helped me. And, thank you so much. I'm like, really? Okay. I'm glad I could do that.
So good. I want to wrap this up by celebrating you. I wish I had my pom-pom. I think it's still in my suitcase. I've been traveling way too much, and I'll leave again next week. But I just want to celebrate you for your accomplishments. I want to celebrate you for how you're showing up in the world. I want to celebrate you for the clients that you're helping get on TV shows and media appearances, all of those things, and that there's more to come. And so I'm going to celebrate your $40,000 month, but I'm also celebrating your $1 million future. So Congratulations. All right, guys, we are going to take off. That is a wrap. Keep your eyes open for the cash creation crash course that's coming up. I love alliteration, and the Holiday Slay series. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching my show, my channel. Here's what I want you to do. If you really love what you've been listening to, I want you to subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment. No, really, leave a comment. Like right now. I'm not gonna stop talking until you leave a comment. Seriously, leave a comment.